Welcome into another episode of the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial Group here on YouTube. I'm Jason Pugh, joined as always to kick things off by Northwestern State head coach Blaine McCorkle. And coach, I don't know about you, but for a bye week, this week went by pretty quick. Was it the same for you guys? Does it feel like there's never enough time when you have a bye week to really enjoy it?
Yeah, they do. They go fast, but you get a lot of work done. There's a lot of opportunity for development in your program. Some young guys get some reps in practice. You get to rest and recover some guys and get some guys back from some injuries, and you get to do some recruiting. So even though everybody says, "Oh, good, you got a week off. Hope you enjoy it," it's a busy week, and you get a lot of work done. So I think it was a productive week, but now we're back to game week and open up Southland play this week, and we'll be excited for it.
From the 10,000-foot view, seems like more of a holistic week where you get to touch stuff maybe you don't get to as much during the season. Obviously, recruiting being the lifeblood, but as you touched on, you get to do some other things during that bye week that clearly during game week you have other responsibilities to.
That's right. And the recruiting was a big piece. Thursday and Friday, we got the majority of our staff out, other than myself and the coordinators, because we stayed back to practice with the team. Got to visit a lot of high schools, go to a lot of games, see the kids that have already committed to us, which we're off to a great start there. So that was a big piece. We had some pretty specific goals for our team that we wanted to accomplish last week, and I feel like we got those things done. And it came at definitely a needed time for us after the first four, take a break, and then go into conference play. So I think it timed up really well.
Getting out there last night, you kind of got back to work. Obviously, this was on Sunday night, getting out there. But first time I've really been to a Sunday night workout for you guys, but it seemed like there was a lot of energy, and maybe that reset button got hit, a little refresh for the team.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And yesterday, the Sunday coming off a bye week is a little bit different than a traditional Sunday. Traditional Sunday, we're in helmets. We're only out there for 45 to 50 minutes, where last night, coming off the bye week, was really a mini Tuesday practice. So you're able to do a little bit more. You're a little bit ahead on your game plan. You're a little bit more confident in putting some shoulder pads on and banging a little bit more than you would on a Sunday, because you're not recovering from the game the day before. So anytime you get under the lights, there's good energy. So, yeah, it was a good workout. The guys were excited to kind of dive into the game plan a little bit deeper and get ready for East Texas A&M this week.
You mentioned it. You'll start Southland Conference play this week, but several teams did start it Saturday. So you got maybe, in a weird way, having that bye week, you get a chance to kind of feel out a little bit more when you do sit and watch, kind of see what the conference has maybe laid out going into the early part.
Yeah. Saturday we do give our program off, and once it hit 6 o'clock and all the Southland games started, I turned off the big games, and that's all I watched. I had about 3 screens going with different Southland games, and tracking some guys, and I think the conference is really strong. There's some good teams in there. UTRGV joining the conference, played Southeastern really well. That was exciting, and then they're off to a good start. And I think Southeastern's got a good team. Obviously, UIW is good. Stephen F. Austin looks really strong. So I think it's a very competitive league, and we'll be in the mix of it here in about 6 days.
When you do get into that, you'll play another team that's coming into their first one. We'll talk about East Texas A&M. They've kind of had a very it's been, in some ways, a very similar non-conference schedule. We talked about it a little bit last week. They played, much like you, a couple of Power Fours right off the bat. But then they get the back half of their non-conference, which is like opponents, and they've dropped both of those. But this is one where 0-0 is in the right-hand column in terms of conference, but it's also 0-0 really across the board.
Yeah, it is. The whole new season starts this week, and talking about East Texas A&M, you're right. Their schedule is very similar to ours. Us, East Texas A&M, and Western Illinois were the only 3 FCS teams in the country to play 2 Power 4 teams, and both of us did it back to back. So then they had 2 non-conference games against solid opponents. They had Grambling and North Carolina Central. We had Alcorn and Prairie View. So very, very similar schedules to this point. Their bye week came a week earlier, so they played last week. But it'd be an interesting matchup. We were able to get the win against Alcorn. North Carolina Central, who they played last week, is a really, really good team, and they played them well as an 8-point game. So they got a lot of good-looking athletes. So it should be an exciting game this Saturday night, and we got our work cut out for us.
North Carolina Central, one of those receiving votes teams in the top 25 in the FCS level. But when you look at it, you talked about very similar, but in some ways very different in terms of program building. We've talked, this is episode 6. It may not be ad nauseum yet, but we may hit it by a certain point where you've talked about the youth on your roster. Clint Dozell does a little bit, builds his team a little differently.
He does, and then that's okay. You got to do what works for you and where you're at. If I were at another school at another time in another phase of the program, I might do it different, but you have to fit your program to where you are at the time at your given institution. We've been a little bit less heavy in the transfer world, even though we brought in some really good transfers who've helped us and are playing really good football for us. Theirs has been a little bit different. I think in the spring we had, one player go in the portal, and they had multiple go in, probably by design. I think them and Houston Christian have had the highest numbers in the conference. We've tried to stay on the lower end to grow and develop some players. But again, it's all about where your program is at the time. And I think what he's doing is right for him in the moment there, and hopefully what we're doing is right in the moment for us. But I respect what they're doing and how they're doing it, and they brought in a lot of really good players that are helping them out. And with that, it'll be a challenge this Saturday night for sure, because there's some good athletes over there.
They will challenge it, and it'll be a challenge in some respects too. It'll be a little bit different. It's homecoming. Every time it's homecoming, there's always something that's a little bit different, whether it's schedule, whether it's the way the week lines up. But when you look at it, how do you keep your guys? And I think I already know the answer to this probably, because it's similar to what we talked about after week one. You guys have an innate ability, this group, it seems, to just focus on the task at hand. So the lightning delay in week one, which was the last time you were at home more than a month ago, didn't seem to bother them. I don't think everything else, the outside noise swirling, will this week either. Yeah,
our guys are pretty resilient. They're pretty focused on the task at hand, as you mentioned. The thing that will be most unusual this week is not homecoming, it's just being at home. We didn't play a home game in the entire month of September, so it's been a long time since we've been in Turpin Stadium and didn't have to get on an airplane or a bus. So that's exciting. Hopefully that'll get our guys a little bit more rested and a little bit more locked in. But homecoming's great. It's great for the campus. It's great for the community. It's great for the alums. In our world, we don't really notice it much because we're all about the football game. If you don't win a football game, homecoming doesn't matter. We all know that, right? But over the course of my years coaching, I can't tell you how many times I've shown up at the game and not even realize it was homecoming until you get there, because we get kind of so focused in our world that we just have a game to win, and I think that's where our guys are. But they also recognize that a lot of people will be showing up to watch them, and they want to make them proud and put on a good show for them.
37 days between home games. Can you remember a time in your career, not counting season openers, because obviously that's a lot longer than 37 days, but within a season being this far between home games?
Never. No. And I don't know that many people really have. I was looking at somebody the other day, I forget who I was having a conversation with, but somebody was kind of starting their program and they went through a whole year with only 2 home games. And that was a rare year, whatever. But other than that, no, I've never been a part of that long a stretch without a home game. So we'll be excited to be at home, and it's just how the schedule fell. There's nothing you can do about that. At this level, you do have to play those big games sometimes, and the way it worked out was we had the home and home with Prairie View. But we're home this week. That's all that matters, and we'll be happy to be there.
Well, if you need some help, I want to say his first year, Rick Cabrera went about 31, 32 days between basketball home games, which is almost probably a little bit more of a shock than 5 weeks between home football games. But when you do, you've talked about it, you really do enjoy coaching at home. Obviously, most coaches do. But what makes Turpin Stadium so special for you?
Well, it's a great atmosphere. And Turpin Stadium in itself is an imposing structure, and I think when people show up on campus for the first time and they see it, they're kind of not ready for it. It kind of catches you off guard because, it's up there high in that big upper deck and it's looking right down on you. So it's an imposing structure in itself, but the people that fill the stands make it special too. Last year, we've talked about it before, with the lack of success we had a year ago, we still finished second in the conference in attendance, and that's an incredible statement to be made about the amount of support that we have here. And the tailgating scene's great, and the band obviously everybody knows the Spirit of Northwestern is second to none in this state. So it's just a great atmosphere. Night games are special and should be loud, should be exciting, and hopefully we'll have a good crowd there this Saturday night.
We have to start a new tradition. You do it, you've done it the last couple of years during practice. Toward the end, you get the band over there. I know you and Anthony Purcell are not just friends, you're neighbors. And good fences make good neighbors. But are we going to see the band do some Demon Jacks at some point, maybe during a game or after a game?
That's up to them. I don't know. What they do during the game is up to them. I'm not worried about that. They do a good job, and they bring great energy, and they add a lot to the atmosphere. But, they're welcome to do Demon Jacks anytime they want. They know how to do them, so that's up to them.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. It's interesting to watch because they do have to space out, and you're dodging instruments and whatnot. So don't want to do one of those with a tuba. It makes it a little tough to do that. But, Coach, we appreciate your time and coming off a bye week, getting ready. We'll see you Saturday night at Turpin Stadium. Hopefully I'll see you post-game. And when we come back, we'll talk with Northwestern State Defense Coordinator Matt Connor. You're watching the Demon Huddle here on YouTube.
Super One Foods is proud to be named the official grocery store of the Northwestern State University Demons. No matter where you gather to watch the game, we've got everything you need at Super One Foods, all at super low prices. Plus, you can order online and enjoy same-day pickup with our convenient curbside service. Talk about a game changer. Score big when you shop at Super One Foods, your official NSU Demons grocery store.
Welcome back into the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial. Now joined by Northwestern State Defense Coordinator Matt Connor. And Coach, I ask you the same thing we asked Coach McCorkle. Bye weeks, for those of us involved, support staff-wise, this one went really quick. Did it seem that way for you guys, and does it always seem that way?
Yeah, I think it does. It seems like they take forever to get here, and then when they're here, they go really, really quick. But I do think at some point in the week, especially later in the week, it starts going a little slow. But as a whole, yeah, it goes by pretty fast.
So when you did get to Saturday, Coach talked about it, night games pretty much across the conference, and that's the ones you guys really do focus on. How did you spend your Saturday ahead of maybe 6 o'clock?
Yeah, a lot of sitting around, playing with my kids and enjoying some time with my wife. That's always the beauty of a bye week. Watched a little bit of football, and then as as the Southland Conference slate came on later in the game, later in the evening, kind of turned your focus on watching some of those guys that we'll face up against later this year.
For you guys, when you look at it, it's very interesting that this year the bye week perfectly splits non-conference and conference for you guys. Also, you get kind of a week, you kind of have that first week bye, if you will, within the Southland. Do you like it in that situation where you do kind of get the very early 10,000, 20,000 foot view over the conference without having to play?
Yeah, there's some benefits in it. I really kind of look at it, me personally, as it's really two separate seasons. When your bye week splits your non-conference and your conference play, you can really approach it with your players, with your coaches as, hey, this is two separate seasons. We've got certain goals set for our non-conference slate, and then when we get into conference, obviously, we want to extend on those goals and just try to work to get a little better every week.
I think goal one may have been this week to get healthy.
Right.
There was a lot of, Coach talked about, I think 34 of the 65 players you traveled to Prairie View were on the injury list when you came back last Monday. As far as that goal, do you feel like that goal was met, or at least, obviously some guys aren't going to heal completely in a week, but maybe some guys were able to?
Yeah, absolutely. The bye week obviously is a great chance for us to just, one, get healthy, but two, just get our legs back under us a little bit. We had a pretty tough stretch there, really with just travel and everything to let guys, kind of get their feet back under them. But we were able to heal up a handful of guys. At this point in the season, I don't know that anybody's actually healthy. That's just kind of the nature of the game. But we were able to get some guys back and get them back out there and watch them run around a little bit. And it was good to see some of those faces back out there.
For you guys, when you do get that, and when you have tough moments, and then this non-conference slate we knew was going to be tough coming in, when you hit that bye week, is it a chance to kind of flush some of that and really do truly turn the page?
Absolutely. It's a great week for, to build confidence back within your group. It's a really good week for coaches, to really take a step back. And I love the bye week allows us to really peel back the layers and really get back to just the base fundamentals that can, as much as you want to coach the details, and you're always coaching the details, when you're game planning and you're trying to look at the big picture and how everything fits together, it's really easy to miss that false step or to miss this guy's hand not being in the right place. And so the bye week really allows you to go back and dissect the film and really hone in on some of the finer details of each position.
A lot of the minutia that gets lost kind of in the wash when you are, because it's tough to balance big picture and small things when you're hurtling toward a one and done kind of week.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a daily grind. You play once a week, and the good thing is you can build momentum, you can take it away, but as you mentioned, hard to do that. When you look at East Texas A&M, what do you see from 10,000 foot view of them?
Yeah, I think they're very, very athletic offensively. I think they got a really good balanced offense. They've got two really good running backs that run the ball really hard. They run the ball really physical. They force you to, get down, get your nose on them, wrap up, run your feet, which is something we've worked all week in practice this week, is to improve in our tackling. Obviously they've played a couple of quarterbacks. One was a returner from last year that we can only assume has been dealing with some injuries that showed up last week and played really well and has a strong arm, and he's really dynamic. And Rodriguez, the quarterback they've been playing up until him, is also kind of the same, very dangerous with his feet. And has a really good arm, and so I can guarantee you that when they show up here Saturday, they will have a quarterback standing back there, and he's going to be pretty talented. So which one it is, we'll see when we get here.
And it seems like we've talked about this. This will be game 5 for us this year. And I bet 3 of the last 5 weeks we've probably talked about, hey, they may play 2 quarterbacks. They may rotate. And it seems like it's pretty much been one the whole time. And certainly in the Alcorn and Prairie View games, we knew they'd potentially move some guys around. But you just feel like some years it's like that where we're seeing 2, and then suddenly they get to see Northwestern and you just got to worry about 1?
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of it being early in the year. A lot of, especially now in this day and age in college football, you have a lot of transfers. And so a lot of those guys were, guys that were probably trying to fill out the offensive schemes, and, they try to get the guys out there and get them some reps as much as possible. And so as a defense, when you see a guy go in and take 20, 25 reps, you have to plan for him. That doesn't mean you're going to see him at all, but you still have to plan for him. And, and it's no different this week. They played up to 3 quarterbacks. Number 2 came back last week and played most of the game. Number 11 is extremely capable and I think very, very talented. And so we'll have to have a plan for both of those guys. And, we might just see one. We might see both. But either way, we'll have a plan and we'll be ready to go, whoever shows up back there.
For you, we'll talk about this and we'll let you get out of here after this. Coach talked about, the bye week, you get a chance to see a lot of the young guys. You do the whatever you want to call it, young guy Super Bowl or whatever you want to call it, where they've got a chance to to make some hay. Who are some young guys on your unit that really kind of showed themselves this weekend that maybe, whether it's this down the line this year or maybe next year, to keep an eye on?
Yeah, we were really blessed. Pretty much every day we practiced this week, we got to finish with about 20, give or take 20 plays of rookie scrimmage where they get to go out there and go live and play real football. And it's not a scout team and it's not controlled. And there was some guys that did a really good job. Tyler Welch is a guy we think really highly of out at corner, and he's just got to have a few birthdays and get some experience under him. But he's going to be a really good player for us for a while. And Nehemiah Barrett obviously did a really good job playing linebacker, and Sample Simeon's a walk-on that got in there and really mixed it up this bye week up front defensively. So it was really cool to see some of those guys that just go down to scout team every day and work hard and kind of play their role on the team right now to get the spotlight be put on them for a few plays every day.
I know Nehemiah is one that's coming back from missed most of his senior year, I believe, because of injury. So he's in an even more unique position than most of those guys.
He is, and technically kind of playing a little bit different position. He didn't play off the ball as much at Huntington, but he's handling that really, really well, and you can definitely see it. He'll get out there and make mistakes, and that's okay. But as coaches, we have to kind of look past that and see where he can go with his talent and his ability, and I think he's going to be really good for us for a long time.
Make a mistake while giving effort, it's okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Coach, we appreciate your time, and we come back on the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial. We'll be joined by Northwestern State Offensive Coordinator Carson Stewart.
Whether it's in the trailer, behind the camera, or on the air, NSU has a place for you. Learn the ins and outs of an ESPN broadcast while getting a full-fledged education in sports media or broadcast journalism. Northwestern State University. New media, journalism, and communication arts. Learn more at nsula.edu/new media.
Welcome back into the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial. Now we're joined by Northwestern State Offensive Coordinator Carson Stewart. And Coach, same thing we're going to start with you, we did with Coach Connor and Coach McCorkle. Bye weeks always seem to go quickly. Did this one go maybe too quickly enough? How'd it go for you?
Yeah, I think you look up and you're back in game week. It definitely did fly by. It's nice to catch your breath a little bit in the bye week, but yeah, I woke up Sunday morning, it was back to work.
It did feel like we just kind of pretty much got back from Prairie View, and here we are again.
That's right.
One difference is you get to come home. So Coach McCorkle touched on it. You're obviously kind of a young pup in a sense in your coaching career, younger than some on the staff, older than a few. But for you, 37 days between home games. Can you remember doing that as a player or as a coach?
No, that's a long stretch, especially with the bye week kind of smushed in there in between it all. But it's exciting to get back to Turpin Stadium.
Do so during homecoming week. And for you, we talked to it, just the bye week, you can do so many different things. You can, can do rest, you get to recover some guys. For you on Saturday, what changed from your routine, or how did Saturday play out for you, maybe ahead of that Southland window opening that night?
Only thing that changed for me is I got maybe an extra hour of sleep, and I wasn't coaching the game. Other than that, it was pretty standard Saturday in the Stewart household. Had the games on TV all day and the iPad up, and had the grill rolling. So other than that, it was pretty standard.
What was on the grill?
Oh, you name it. Hamburgers, hot dogs, steak, some pork loin, did some wings on the grill, jalapeno poppers. It was a packed grill.
Okay, so next bye week, everybody, Carson Stewart's going to be cooking for everyone. Getting the offense cooking, speaking of cooking, it did take a step forward last time out. When you do go through that, as you had one of the better performances in terms of balance, how do you best maintain that across a bye week?
I think the bye week allows us to get back to the basics. So you take the successes that we've had, as small as they are sometimes, you still have to harp on that and say, here's the next step. You can go back to the basics, be it fundamentals, be it first step, be it ball security, alignment, assignment, and now you just kind of put everything back in that mixing bowl together and take the next leap forward.
Guy that took a leap forward in this game last year as we get ready to see Northwestern State and East Texas A&M was Abram Johnson. Statistically, his best performance of his freshman year against the Lions last year. Completely different roster there in Commerce, Texas now in terms of, I believe it was a ridiculously high number of newcomers, which is kind of commonplace now. But when you're in Abram Johnson's shoes, do you look at it and see there's something you can draw from that game, even though the 11 out there may be completely different from last year?
Yeah, I think everything can be a learning experience, especially for him in his young role in the offense and his young role as a human in general. You know, he's not the oldest guy in the room, but definitely a learning experience from what he did last year, even last week, even yesterday at practice. So I'm really excited to see how Abram puts this game plan together and just let him go and drive the car.
Do you see a whole lot, without getting obviously into the minutia of it all, but I mean, is it a similar type of defense you saw from last year, or have they fit it to different personnel?
Yeah, very similar structure. Most of their defensive staff is back. You know, I think their defensive line has drastically improved. I think it's a strong suit for them right now. You know, their linebackers and defensive backs fly to the ball. I mean, just excellent pursuit in the back end. So those are a couple key things we have to hone in on come Saturday night.
Same thing we talked with Matt Connor about. You know, this week, a lot of times was not just getting guys healthy; it also gave other guys opportunities. Talked about closing practice with the kind of rookie scrimmages. Who were some of the younger guys? And we know you're running out some young ones to begin with, as it is, especially that offensive line. You've got a redshirt freshman quarterback, Brendan Webb, freshman receiver, started the last couple of games. But who were some of the guys maybe that are coming through the pipeline that you felt good about coming out of, or even better about coming out of last week?
Sure. Running back Trevor Allen, we call him TJ. He got some new glasses 2 weeks ago. That helped him out a lot on the field. And then offensive lineman Roy Lambert. Those two guys really, you know, sparked some conversation in the staff room this past week.
When you do have a young group, and you talked about Roy Lambert on the offensive line, I believe it was three redshirt freshmen starting 2 to 3, basically any given week. And does it feel like some of those young guys maybe understand that the guys aren't, there's not too much difference between them, maybe in terms of, certainly in terms of class structure, but in terms of experience and maybe pushing to get on the field?
Yeah, I think a lot of those guys just kind of feed off of each other. They know that they're relative in age and relative in class, in the classroom that is, and I think they have a really unique bond where, you know, we're doing this together and no one's looking at somebody as a true superior, but it's all about the unity in that room right now.
Well, let's go to that. You've got one of the captains of the team is your center, Caleb Billiot, obviously. How has his leadership helped with that?
Well, I think he's extremely vocal. And, you know, we tell our guys all the time, you know, A, you get voted a captain, or B, you get, you know, quote unquote, named a leader. You don't have to change who you are. And I think the guys really respond well to vocal leadership that Caleb, you know, kind of displays every single day.
One of those guys you mentioned was named captain kind of later in training camp, kind of the week of the game, was Ryan Tyler. And so you got a center and a fullback, which typically are two of the bigger guys. Certainly, fullback in terms of skill position will be one of the bigger guys. But Ryan's kind of got a different personality, I think, than Caleb. Or maybe there's some similarities there. What has his How is his leadership style either the same or different from Caleb's?
I would say both of them you want next to you or in front of you in a dark alley. Those are two guys who will be in the fight and stay in the fight for the long haul. I think they are both vocal when the time presents itself. And I think, Ryan's an older guy, just like Caleb's an older guy. They've both seen a lot of football, and they've been around a lot of programs and staffs, successful ones at that. And I think it's just kind of whose turn is it to be vocal today, and they do a great job with that balance.
When you look toward Saturday, aside from just being at home, what else are you looking forward to?
Being at home, 6 p.m. kickoff.
All right. Carson, thanks for your time as always. And I want to thank Blaine McCorkle and Matt Connor for joining us for another edition of the Demon Huddle, presented by Cross Financial here on YouTube.